Think you know geography? Sure, everyone's heard of Mount Everest and the Amazon River. But our planet has some absolutely mind-blowing geographical facts that almost nobody talks about. Today, we're diving into 8 underrated geography extremes that will make you see Earth in a completely different way. From the oldest river in the world to a cliff face that looks like something from a Marvel movie. Let's start with a geographic fact that's both fascinating and slightly absurd. You are never more than 5 Chiles from Chile itself. Here's what this means. Chile is an incredibly long, thin country, about 2,670 miles long, but averaging only 109 miles wide. It stretches along the western coast of South America, from the Atacama Desert in the north to the glaciers and fjords of Patagonia in the south. Because of this extreme shape and length, if you measure the distance from any point on Earth to Chile and express it in units of Chile lengths, you'll never be more than about 5 Chile lengths away from Chile itself. The furthest point from Chile is somewhere in western China, and even that's only about 12,400 miles away, which is roughly 4.6 Chiles. Most places on Earth are much closer, just 2 or 3 Chiles away. This is a quirky way of showing just how absurdly stretched out Chile is as a country. It's basically a 2,600-mile line drawn down the side of a continent. If Chile were a person, it would have serious proportion issues. But this weird geography gives Chile an incredible diversity of climates and ecosystems, from some of the driest deserts on Earth to temperate rainforests to sub-Antarctic islands. So remember, no matter where you are right now, you're probably less than 4 Chiles from Chile. It's not the most useful fact, but it's definitely one of the most entertaining geographic quirks out there. Now let's move to what might be the most alien landscape on our planet, the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. This place doesn't just look like another world, it literally gives us clues about what other planets might be like. The Danakil Depression sits about 400 feet below sea level and holds the record for the highest average year-round temperature on Earth, around 34 degrees Celsius or 93 Fahrenheit. That's not a summer day, that's the average. All year, every day. Daytime temperatures can soar past 50 degrees Celsius, but the heat is just the beginning. This is one of the most geologically active places on the planet. It sits right at the junction of 3 tectonic plates that are actively pulling apart. You can literally watch the Earth slowly ripping itself open here. The landscape is completely surreal. There are massive salt flats stretching to the horizon, remnants of ancient seas. There are sulfur springs creating pools of acid in brilliant yellows, greens, and oranges. There's Erta, a shield volcano with a permanent lava lake, where you can stand at the rim and look down into churning molten rock that's been continuously active since at least 1906. The air reeks of sulfur. The ground is hot enough to burn through boot soles. Toxic gases seep from cracks in the earth. And yet, the Afar people have lived and worked here for generations, mining salt blocks using methods that haven't changed in centuries. Scientists are fascinated by the Danakil Depression because it might be the closest thing we have to what early Earth looked like. The extremophile microorganisms that thrive in the acidic hot springs give us clues about how life might exist in extreme environments on other planets. It's hostile, it's beautiful, and it's utterly unlike anywhere else on Earth. Moving from fire to water, let's talk about the Bay of Fundy in eastern Canada, which has the highest tidal range in the entire world. The difference between low tide and high tide here can exceed 50 feet. To put that in perspective, imagine a 5-story building. That's how much the water level changes every 6 hours. The bay's unique funnel shape amplifies the tides in an incredible way. As water from the Atlantic rushes into this increasingly narrow bay, it has nowhere to go but up. About 160 billion tons of water flow in and out during each tide cycle. That's more than the combined flow of all the world's freshwater rivers, happening twice a day. The effects are spectacular. At low tide, you can walk on the ocean floor among rocks and seaweed. 6 hours later, that exact same spot is underwater beneath 30 to 50 feet of ocean. Boats that sit on mud at low tide are floating freely at high tide. The St. John River actually flows backward when the tide comes in. You can watch waterfalls reverse direction. The tides have carved incredible formations like the Hopewell Rocks, giant flowerpot-shaped pillars that you can walk around at low tide, but which become small islands surrounded by deep water at high tide. The power of these tides is so immense that there are plans to harness them for renewable energy generation. Staying in Canada, let's talk about what might be the most terrifying cliff face on Earth. Mount Thor in Auyuituk National Park on Baffin Island in Nunavut. Mount Thor features Earth's greatest vertical drop of 4,100 feet, with the cliff overhanging at an average angle of 105 degrees. That means it doesn't just go straight down, it actually curves back on itself. If you dropped a bowling ball from the top of this cliff, it would fall uninterrupted for nearly 20 whole seconds. The mountain itself stands at about 5,495 feet tall, which isn't particularly impressive for a mountain. But it's not the height that makes Mount Thor legendary. It's how dramatically it reaches that height. The west face is almost entirely vertical granite, and climbers who've attempted it describe it as one of the most challenging big walls in the world. The name Thor is fitting. In Norse mythology, Thor was the god of thunder, and this mountain is certainly a thunderous presence in the landscape. What makes this even more remarkable is its location. This isn't in some easily accessible mountain range. It's in the remote Canadian Arctic, where you need to fly to the nearest community and then hike for days just to reach the base of the mountain. It's a monument to Earth's ability to create landscapes that push the boundaries of what seems physically possible. Speaking of dramatic mountains, let's talk about Annapurna in Nepal, specifically the south face, sometimes called the Annapurna Fang. While Mount Everest gradually builds up over many miles, Annapurna's south face represents one of the most sudden rises of any mountain on Earth. From the base to the summit, the mountain soars nearly 14,600 feet in just 2.5 horizontal miles. To understand how dramatic this is, imagine standing in a valley and looking up at a wall of rock and ice that rises almost straight up for over 14,000 feet. The face is so steep and so massive that it creates its own weather systems. Clouds and storms form against the wall, making climbing conditions extremely unpredictable and dangerous. Annapurna is already famous among mountaineers for being statistically the deadliest 8,000-meter peak in the Himalayas. About 1 in 3 people who attempt to summit don't make it back. The south face is particularly notorious. It wasn't successfully climbed until 1970, making it one of the last great problems in Himalayan mountaineering. What you're looking at with Annapurna's south face isn't just a tall mountain. It's a wall of ice and rock that seems to defy gravity, rising so abruptly from the valley that it looks almost fake, like something from a fantasy movie. But it's very real and very deadly. Let's talk about the oldest river on Earth, the Finke River in Central Australia, also known by its Aboriginal name, Larapinta. The Finke River is believed to be at least 300 million years old, and some parts may be over 340 million years old. To put that in perspective, this river predates the dinosaurs. It's been flowing since before the first trees grew on land. When this river formed, life had just barely begun colonizing the continents. Here's what makes the Finke even more remarkable. It flows for only a few days a year. Most of the time, it's just a dry riverbed, winding through the Australian desert. But when heavy rains come, water rushes through this ancient channel, and for those few days, you can see the same river that flowed when the first reptiles were evolving. The Finke rises in the McDonnell Ranges in the Northern Territory and flows toward Lake Eyre, though the water usually disappears into the Simpson Desert sands before reaching the lake. The fact that this riverbed has maintained its course for hundreds of millions of years, surviving continental drift, climate changes, ice ages, and mass extinctions, is absolutely mind-blowing. Aboriginal legend tells that the Finke was formed when the rainbow serpent traveled north from Lake Eyre. In a way, that's more accurate than they knew. This river has been here since a time so ancient it might as well be mythological to our human understanding of time. Here's a geographic fact that's more mathematical than physical, but it's genuinely weird. The Pacific Ocean is the only ocean that contains its own antipode. An antipode is the point directly on the opposite side of the Earth from any given location. If you could drill straight through the planet's core, you'd come out at the antipode. For most places on Earth, if you're on land, your antipode is in an ocean, and vice versa. But the Pacific Ocean is so vast that there are points in the Pacific where if you drilled straight through the Earth, you'd come out in the Pacific Ocean again. This happens because the Pacific covers about 46% of the world's water surface and about 32% of Earth's total surface area. It's not just the largest ocean. It's larger than all of Earth's land area combined. Specifically, the Gulf of Tonkin in Southeast Asia is antipodal to waters off the coast of Peru. It's a strange thought. The Pacific is so enormous that it wraps around and meets itself on the other side of the planet. No other ocean does this. It really drives home just how vast the Pacific truly is. Now let's talk about one of the most visually stunning places on Earth. Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, the world's largest salt flat. Salar de Uyuni covers over 4,000 square miles of pure white salt, flat as a pancake. It's the flattest place on Earth, with elevation variations of less than 3 feet across the entire expanse. This salt flat formed from prehistoric lakes that dried up tens of thousands of years ago, leaving behind a thick crust of salt and minerals. The salt layer is several feet thick in most places, sitting on top of a brine pool that contains huge reserves of lithium. Estimates suggest 50 to 70% of the world's lithium reserves are under this salt flat. But what makes Salar de Uyuni truly magical is what happens during the rainy season, from December to April. A thin layer of water covers the salt flat, and because the surface is so perfectly flat, the water creates a mirror effect. The sky reflects on the ground so perfectly that you can't tell where the Earth ends and the sky begins. Walking on Salar de Uyuni during this time is like walking through the clouds. The horizon disappears. Up and down become meaningless. Photographers and filmmakers flock here because you can create images that look impossible. Perspective tricks, where people appear to stand on clouds or balance on the sky. Even when dry, the salt flat is stunning. The hexagonal salt patterns stretch to the horizon in every direction, creating a geometric natural pattern that looks almost artificial. And because it's so flat and so isolated, Salar de Uyuni is one of the best places on Earth for satellite calibration. NASA uses it to check the accuracy of satellite instruments. From the oldest river on Earth to mathematical ocean oddities and mountains that defy gravity, our planet is full of geographical extremes. These aren't just random facts and figures. They're windows into understanding how incredible and diverse our Earth really is. Every one of these places tells a story about geology, climate, time, or the sheer improbability of the world we live on. What other underrated geography facts do you think should have made this list? Drop them in the comments below. And if you learned something new today, Smash that like button and subscribe for more fascinating content about our amazing planet. Thanks for watching.